Hello everyone, I am Vidya-mitra. Today, together with you, I am going to learn a wonderful story about the stars and the moon. We will study a prose piece, Why the Moon Waxes and Wanes by Shanta Rameshwar Rao. We will see how in simple and lucid language the author retells a mythological story and also manages to convey some wisdom for us. Let us see what the story says. Chandra, the god of moon, is the son-in-law of Daksha the seer. He has married 27 daughters of Daksha, and all his wives are always doting on him and vying with each other how they can please their husband. But Chandra gradually becomes close to his fourth wife, Rohini. Rohini is sweet, modest, soft-spoken. Rohini's nature attracts Chandra more and more. He starts visiting only Rohini, neglecting others. He starts giving Rohini lots of gifts, wooing her and courting her as he falls madly in love with his fourth wife. In the process, he ends up neglecting all his other 26 wives. Now, those wives realize this. They get angry, they get jealous, and together they run to their father Daksha, complaining against their husband. They started crying, and seeing their sorrow, Daksha the father also starts feeling bad. He says he would do anything that these daughters would like him to do. The 26 daughters immediately ask for some severe punishment. Daksha, sad at his daughter's sorrow, agrees, and he curses Chandra with a severe wasting disease. Immediately, Chandra was struck with fever. The wasting disease was taking away all his blood. Daksha said, with this wasting disease, Chandra is going to die gradually, bit by bit, after 14 days. And the curse materializes. Day by day, Chandra grows thinner and paler. He was bedridden. Rohini became very concerned. She was always at the bedside of her husband, but nothing happened. All Rohini's efforts went to ashes, and she could not cure her husband at all. Gradually, by the time it was the 14th day, Chandra's condition was very pathetic. He was almost a thin line in the sky. Very pale, thin, without any blood. He knew he is going to die the next day. Rohini suddenly rushes sobbing to all her sisters. She says that our husband is dying. Please come and be with him now. Hearing the news, all the 26 daughters start rejoicing. They started singing, they started dancing, and they were mocking Rohini. Rohini was very shocked. She rebuked all her sisters. She says, you should be ashamed of yourself if you are welcoming your widowhood like this. You are rejoicing because you are going to be a widow tomorrow. And she leaves that place and goes to be with Chandra again. Suddenly, the 26 daughters start feeling a little bad, and one by one they follow Rohini to Chandra's deathbed. And suddenly they saw the earth and the night sky all has become dark because their husband has lost his glory. He is now a poor thin line in the night sky, almost going to die the next day. They start sobbing and lamenting. They start realizing what their jealousy has done to their husband. Then Rohini, again being so modest and kind-hearted, started feeling bad at her sister's plight. She suggests that why don't you go to our father again and please ask him to remove his curse so that our husband leaves. Listening to this, Rohini's sisters go to their father crying and lamenting. They fall upon their knees and ask for forgiveness. They start wailing and they start requesting their father to do something to save their husband. They said, if the night is so dark, if the earth is also going to be so dark without moon, what are they going to do with this happiness? Daksha initially was very upset. He told his daughters that, well, you deserve this. You have brought this grief upon yourselves because of your own jealousy. So now you have no other choice than to suffer the consequences, as I cannot take back my curse. The daughters started lamenting and crying all over again. Daksha, as usual, started having pity. He says, he thinks over it and he says, well, let me see what I can do. Then he says, I cannot take back my curse, but I would try to soften it a little bit. So, seeing his daughter's remorse, Daksha decides to soften and change his curse a little bit. He says, well, Chandra will get ravaged by this disease and grow thinner and paler for 14 days, till he becomes almost vanished for a day. But from the next day onwards, he would gradually start getting back his glory, and slowly, day after day, till the 14th day, he will again become radiant and get back his strength and full vigor. And since then, it has continued. The moon, Chandra, the moon god, has reduced from his full radiant glory day by day, becoming one thin line on the 14th day, only to vanish for one day. But right after that, from the next day, he gets back his full glory again, slowly, day by day, till he becomes a full glowing orb in the night sky. And this cycle continues again and again. So this is the story why the moon waxes and wanes in a cyclic order. Shanta Rameshwar Rao, the author of this story, is a writer of short stories for children. She has also written several stories on myth, legend, folk tales, etc., etc. She is an expert in retelling stories from Indian scriptures and mythology, especially for the children. In Tales of Ancient India, she has retold several stories like why the stork has a long neck or why the snakes have forked tongue. She has also written Mahabharata for children and a story in the worship of Lord Shiva. She is basically an educationalist. In 1961, she has founded the Vidya-mitra school in Hyderabad. Her association with her students has always made her an expert in children's stories. She has this unique art of storytelling through all her writing, where she knows how to relate to the children and she manages to convey words of wisdom and values through all her beautiful stories of mythology. Another unique feature why the author becomes so celebrated as a children's storyteller is she always manages to make all these gods and demons and mythological characters and celestial figures as human. She gives human-like qualities, the strength and weakness like a human being to all these characters, and that is why it is always so very easy to relate to all her stories. Her works include retelling of stories from mythology as well as her own original pieces. Her works are equally interesting to adults and to children. Shanta Rameshwar Rao has this unique talent to retell stories from Hindu mythology and legends in a very witty, creative manner. She manages beautifully to convey certain values and education for the children through her stories too. Let us concentrate behind the mythology of this story. According to Hinduism, Chandra is the lunar deity. Chandra marries 27 daughters of Daksha the seer on the condition that he is going to love all of them equally. But he fails to do so. He starts concentrating on his fourth wife Rohini, and as a result all the other daughters of Daksha get angry and they start complaining. Daksha is furious too because Chandra fails to listen to him. He curses Chandra with this waning disease. He says, you are going to reduce day by day only to die on the 15th day. Chandra quickly rushes to have shelter to Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva wears Chandra on his head and saves him. Later, Daksha also realizes the harshness of his curse and also fears that without the moon the night sky is going to be very dark, and at Shiva's request he softens the curse. And because Chandra survived on Shiva's head, he also could not lose his full glory. So he reduces to a thin line to vanish for a day, only to come back from the next day till he gets back to his full glory, and then again the reduction starts. So this cycle goes on and on in the night sky. And based on this mythological story, Shanta Rameshwar Rao manages to tell us a beautiful story behind the fact why the moon on the night sky suddenly changes its shapes and sizes. The story by Shanta Rameshwar Rao is a potpourri or a mixture of science and myth. In the story, Daksha curses moon with a severe wasting disease, due to which moon was reducing and was vanishing ultimately. After that, he feels bad at his daughter's plight and softens his curse, due to which again moon starts getting back his full glory, coming to radiant and strengthy self. Now at the end of the story, Daksha remarks, and this will continue forever and ever. Behind this statement lies the trick of the science. In actuality, moon is just like earth, a celestial body in the space. Just like earth, moon is also illuminated by the sun. And as moon is orbiting the earth and earth is as well rotating on its own axis, from earth we see only one phase of the moon, and not only one phase. In regular basis, the shape of the moon grows and reduces in an orderly way. This is the science because of which the moon is waxing and waning in the night sky, and from earth we see the beautiful moon reducing and vanishing and again coming back and looking beautiful. So this scientific episode is beautifully expressed through this mythological story, which is again wonderfully dealt by the author over here. The light and darkness of the moon depends on the sun, and we see the varying degree and sizes of the moon from the earth because it is orbiting the earth in a orderly periodical way. And this scientific explanation is subtly clarified by the author through this beautiful fairy tale which is based on the mythology, and we get an answer why the moon is waxing and waning in the night sky. The author not only tells us a beautiful story over here, but craftily manages to convey her words of wisdom and some education for all of us. She tells us that jealousy does not pay. If you see what happened to the 26 sisters of Rohini, you will understand. Jealousy or anger are negative emotions. They always bring grief upon us. And that is what has happened to all those 26 daughters of Daksha. Out of jealousy and anger, they did not even think of their own sister or their husband. They rushed and asked for his death. Seeing Chandra where he was pale and thin and bloodless, they understood that Chandra is going to die now. And then they started lamenting and wailing and asking their father to change the fate for them. But it was too late by that time. Daksha, the seer, himself told them that they have called this grief upon themselves because of their own jealousy. So this is a lesson we learn through this wonderful story of the Chandra and Rohini's sisters. The lesson that we learn is jealousy does not pay, it brings us sorrow and pain as a result. The story also beautifully teaches us that pain and joy, sorrow and happiness, health and disease, nothing is permanent in life. They rotate in cyclic order in our life. Through Chandra's waning and waxing, we could see that it is not a permanent stage. Once he reduces, he dies, he vanishes, again he comes back to his full glory. And the moment he is back to his full glory, the radiant orb in the night sky, again from the next day he starts getting reduced. So like this, in our life, no state is permanent. So it would be really very foolish to rejoice in our happiness and forget the sorrow. Because if today we are happy and satisfied, we don't know what is going to happen tomorrow. At the same time, we should always be courageous to face the pain that might come to us tomorrow. Equally, if we are very downtrodden, sad and in a sorrowful state, there is no point in lamenting and complaining and feeling bad about it, because that too is a passing phase. After this, again a happy state, a joyous life is going to follow. Over here, the author is a perfect writer of children's stories, as she successfully fulfills the responsibility and the craft. The craft over here is her ability to use lucid, simple language which is also creative and funny. And the responsibility of being a teacher is being fulfilled very well, because through this beautiful story of Chandra the god, she teaches us the lessons and educates us about certain values of life. Even the title of the story starts with a question. It's like a small child would ask a question about all the interesting things that happen in this world. And the story that follows successfully again justifies that question, because it gives an answer to that question. Why the moon waxes and wanes? And the story goes on telling a beautiful, interesting story of marriage and love and jealousy and punishment, and again compassion through all the characters that the author has displayed.